And if you can find your passion in life, folks, I promise you, you will be a much, 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 much happier person.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
Welcome, everybody, to the podcast. Dustin Harris hanging out once again in the podcast chair. I need a new podcast chair, don't you think? It's kind of, I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little bit old. Welcome to the program, everybody. Yes, we're going to be talking about Chat GPT again. I know, but actually, I'm going to address one of your concerns, and that is the amount of time that I spend on Chat GPT and the amount of time that I spent talking about it. Okay, I'm just going to answer your questions. I hear you. Want to stop and remind you that we're sponsored by Spark today. Spark, of course, is the way that I get a lot more done for a lot less time, and you can as well. Spark for Appraisers, that's F-O-R spelled out, sparkforappraisers.com. All right, folks, we're going to be talking today, yes, about AI, machine learning, specifically about Chat GPT, and a criticism. Well, maybe it's a question, right? We'll call it a question that I have received from listeners as to why I talk so much about Chat GPT. And I did a whole episode explaining why, but I want to talk about a second question today after the break, and that is, why do I spend so much time on Chat GPT? Don't you have anything better to do, Dustin? Let's first address the first question. First question is, why am I talking so much about Chat GPT? The answer to this is very simple. From the beginning, you can hear it in the introduction to this podcast. You hear it every single time, that my purpose is to help appraisers to be better business owners, to be more successful, to make more money. That's it. That's been my driving force to start the podcast. It's been my driving force to keep doing the podcast. It is an honor. I feel it is my mission in life. I know it sounds silly, but I feel my mission in life is to help people. Now, I've chosen specifically to help appraisers, right? But I feel like to teach, to educate, to share information is my lot in life. It's my mission in life. It's what I get up in the morning to do. It's my passion, if you will. And if you can find your passion in life, folks, I promise you, you will be a much, 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 much happier person. And as part of that mission, specifically the part about informing appraisers so that they can make better decisions, which are going to allow them to be better business owners, which is going to lead to them making more money. Okay. All of this lines up perfectly as to why I am talking so much about Chat GPT. The reason I talk so much about AI, Chat GPT, machine learning, and by the way, a year ago, folks, I was not talking about this stuff at all. Chat GPT came out in November 2022. I started using it early December 2022. And honestly, when I first got introduced to it, I was like, what? Who cares, right? The more I dove in, the more I learned about it, the more I realized, folks, that this is, and I don't think this is overselling it, this is a game changer. Now, folks, if my role as a coach is to help appraisers to be informed so they can make better business decisions, so they can be more successful, so yes, they can make more money, this topic fits perfectly into this, and here's why. Mark my words, as my dad used to say. Mark my words, folks. Chat GPT, AI specific, maybe not necessarily Chat GPT. That's just kind of the forerunner. That's what everybody's familiar with. That's the one I spend a lot of time on. AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, right? I am 100% convinced that this is going to change the atmosphere of the world in which we live, the world in which we work, the valuation industry. Yes, it'll change the world in general. Yes, it'll change you. It'll change your family. It'll change how you live your day-to-day life. I'm convinced of that. I am also 100% convinced that it will change the way that we do business as appraisers. And the faster you learn about this and the more you start to utilize this as a tool, not as a takeover, okay, we've addressed that as well, all those myths out there that using Chat GPT is going to destroy the appraisal industry. I do not believe that for a second, but I do believe that it is a powerful, and I'm even going to use the word essential tool if you are going to be successful as an appraiser. So that is why I'm talking so much about Chat GPT, about machine learning, about AI. I'm absolutely convinced that the world in which we live and the world in which we work as appraisers is changing rapidly. And fast forward a couple years down the road, those who are not utilizing this technology, I am also 100% convinced will not be in business anymore. It's that simple. If you are going to be successful, the faster you can learn about this and the faster you can start utilizing it as a tool, as an instrument, not as a replacement for you as an appraiser, the better off you are going to be. I want to pause here and remind you that we are sponsored by a great program called Spark. Speaking of technology and changing the atmosphere of the world in which we work, Spark is one of those great technologies that absolutely are amazing, folks. When I say amazing, I'm talking about game changer as far as the amount of time that you spend in an appraisal report. Spark can speed that up 30, 45 minutes, an hour sometimes. The amount of time that you spend in a report, folks, can be reduced by up to an hour utilizing Spark. It is a game changer. Check it out. Go to spark4appraisers.com. Again, it's spark4appraisers.com. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. Your humble host, Dustin Harris, the appraiser coach, hanging out with you once again, talking about, yes, Chat GPT. I've received, I'm going to call them questions. They kind of were disguised maybe because they kind of felt like criticisms about the amount of time that Dustin Harris spends on Chat GPT. I have said publicly on this microphone, this one right here, if you're on YouTube, you can see me pointing at my microphone. I have said several times on this microphone that I spend, I think the first time I said it, it was like an hour to 2 hours a day on Chat GPT. There were times that I was spending 3, 4, 5 hours a day on Chat GPT. I know, crazy, right? I would say that's been reduced now to, well, probably less than an hour a day, but most days over an hour. I would say if I had to quantify it, and I have not quantified it, so this is just my best guess, I would say that I am probably spending about 4 to 5 hours on Chat GPT on a given week. That's on average. Now, many of you are going to criticize that and say, Dustin, why would you spend that much time on this? That seems silly. Why would you do that? And again, this goes back to what I talked about before the break. Before the break, I was talking about the fact that I, as your host, as your appraiser coach, my driving force is to help you to be more successful. My driving force is to help you to make more money, to be a better business owner, to be a better CEO of your business, right? And so part of this is research. Part of this is me finding out as much as I possibly can about this technology so that you don't have to, right? The more I can find out, the more I can teach you, and I can cut the corners, if you will, on the amount of research that you might do. In other words, without my voice, without this podcast, without the all-star team and the mastermind, then you are out there kind of doing all this research on your own. By the way, I would not discredit that. In fact, I would highly encourage that you continue to do that, because the more you can learn on your own, the better off you're going to be. But my goal here is to help you to be more successful. And I know that you're a busy appraiser, you're a busy wife and husband and father and mother and all these things that we have to do on a regular basis. I get that. And so I'm trying to do my very best to help short circuit that process and help bring you the meat, if you will, as quickly as possible. So that's number one. Number two, and this is probably the most important part of why I spend so much time on Chat GPT, because this may not even necessarily be related to the valuation industry. This is just related to me as a human being, to me as a business owner, to me as an entrepreneur, to me as a husband, a father, a brother, you name it, right? My various roles that I play in my life hinge on making good decisions. And I will say this, that it is rare. In fact, I don't remember a time do not remember a time that I've done research on Chat GPT and I have not learned at least one new good idea. Now let that sink in for a little bit. I may spend an hour a day on Chat GPT, but I come away with, after every session, with at least one something new that I didn't know before. Good, that's important as well, right? Not bad ideas, but good ideas. One new good idea every single time I do research on Chat GPT. Now, as we close out the program, folks, I would ask you this question. What would you pay to have one new good idea implanted into your head every single day? Is it worth an hour of research? Is it worth putting in the effort that it's going to take to get that thing? If the answer is no, then great, fine, tune out, do your thing. But if you are like me and you love learning new things, and you are like me and you are willing to put in a little bit of effort in order to get those great things, I highly recommend that you spend a little bit of time on Chat GPT, whether it be appraisal related or not. I promise you, if you spend a little bit of time and dig in and start learning how to use it, that the information age will explode in your head. Right? This idea that all this information is out there and it's so time consuming to filter through it. Well, Chat GPT cuts through that noise. Yes, it can be wrong. I know some of you are out there saying, Dustin, it's not always right. I get it, folks. I get it. Trust me, I get it. If you can walk away with one new good idea every day, would you do it? Thank you for joining me today, folks. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Love you all. Get out there and create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
I want to pause here and remind you that we are sponsored by a great program out there. Sorry, editor. I think I screwed up. I grabbed the wrong mic. Okay, I don't even know if you could have heard that. Sorry, editor, I grabbed the wrong mic, so I'm going to go back to when I go to the break.